Hello and thanks for joining us. My name is Kenneth Odushola Stevenson and this is Inside Business Africa, Africa's business news and information leader. On today's edition of the program, the built environment professionals speaks on the burning issue of urbanization and the housing challenge against the backdrop of the Nigeria's government transformation agenda. CED magazine, the built environment pioneer publication, hosted surveyors in Nigeria to a very important breakfast meeting in Lagos recently. Found out what transpired at the meeting. And leading the education sector's transformation is the private institutions. Today on Inside Business, we take a look at the Caleb University's position. Plus, information on the summit, the development professionals for Nigeria's transformation event coming up in October. Stay with Inside Business where we go after this very short break and come back to talk about the details of the highlights. Welcome back. It's still Inside Business Africa, Africa's business news and information leader. Thanks for staying with us. The urbanization issue is currently being debated in Nigeria by professionals in the built environment against the backdrop of the federal government resolve to transform the housing sector and also create a very important urban system in the country. Inside Business Africa went around the country to speak with some professionals in the built environment to talk about these very important issues. Here's what we brought for you. The overall economic growth in Nigeria, which is put at about 7%, has indeed driven marginal increase in the housing sector's performance and is expected to expand due to its rising demand and increasing population. Urbanization is indeed a global phenomenon that has transformed and continued to alter landscapes and the ways in which societies function and develop. Cities offer the layer of better employment, education, healthcare and culture, and they contribute adequately to a nation's economy. Urbanization has often been regarded as a shift from a rural to an urban society and involves an increase in the number of people in an area at a particular period. The United Nations Habitat in 2006 described urbanization as the increase in the concentration of people in cities rather than in rural areas.
Urbanization is an English word. It's not meant for Nigeria. So when you talk of urbanization, you are talking of a phenomenon. That's the movement of people from the rural areas to the urban areas. That is, it could be natural, it could be induced, and it could be positive, and it could be negative. Positive urbanization occurs when there's gainful thing you want to go and achieve in that urban center. And of course, the rate of that movement is the point of concern. Because, I can't recollect now, I think between 2 and 3% of the local population is advised to be the optimal urbanization. But in most developed countries like Nigeria, the urbanization is negative. Number one, they are moving from rural area to the developed to the urban center. Is there employment opportunity? Are there adequate employment opportunities in the city? No. Are there adequate infrastructure in terms of housing, in terms of electricity, in terms of the convenience of the roads, transportation? No. So urbanization, while it is normal, while it is general, in most developed countries it is negative. It is lack of development that induces urbanization. Of course, you want to come and see the bright light of Lagos. Maybe there is no electricity in your local area, and of course people believe that once you get to Lagos, before it is now Abuja, they believe that you can pick and choose. And the reality is not. It's not. So urbanization in this country is negative because There is shortage of housing, there is shortage of employment, there is shortage of amenities, and there is shortage of every infrastructure you can think of. So it's negative. And of course, in the rural areas, you are depopulating the rural areas because, again, a problem of development there. There are no industries there. There are no employment opportunities there. So head or tail, we are losing. But urbanization can be optimal where all these things are present in commensurate proportions. So that is urbanization Nigeria for you.
Urbanization is the movement of people from the countryside or from the rural areas to the cities, usually in search of employment opportunities, which invariably is not there most of the time, or in search of the good things of life, like electricity, like water, all those things that you don't find at the countryside. So this is what we in their profession we usually call the pull and push factors. Those things are pulling people from the rural area to the city, or they are pushing people from the rural area to the city. So we call it pull and push factors, and it's a phenomenon that is worldwide, but it's greater in third world. For example, in UK, there's hardly anything you find in the city of London that you don't find in any other village. They don't call it village, but countryside. There'll be pipe-borne water, there'll be electricity, there'll be good road, there'll be telephone. In fact, the shops you see, like the Marks and Spencer, you also get them, even though on a smaller scale in those areas, but it's not so in Nigeria. So, so these are the things that push people to the city, all these good things of life.
When you talk of urbanization, urbanization can be a process. Urbanization also can be an incident, you know, resulting from a process. It's just the process of people moving from seeking better life, moving from rural areas to probably to towns and even already urban centers. You know, that's what urbanization is all about. People is the migration of people from rural to urban area, thereby putting pressure on the land, pressure on infrastructure, pressure on existing services. I think the UN definition is about any center that is up to, I think about whether 200,000 or so, you know, can be regarded as urban area. And the UN predicted that by 2008, half of the whole world will be living in urban centers. And that prediction has really come to, it has come true now. We have so many urban centers now. Lagos, Cairo, these are mega centers. Lagos, Cairo, talking of Tokyo, so many, even London. You see, people now congregating on land. So you see, the number of people per square kilometer is higher than it should be in rural centers. And also you can link urbanization with modernization. You can also link it with industrialization, because where you have congregation of people, demand will be there, demand for services. So you know, it has a pain-off effect on services. So you see, industrialization comes in. It's no longer the rural agricultural setting. Now you have industries producing what people will need. And modernization, because now people are influenced. There's cultural fusion, rationality comes in. In rural setting, what you see is you have blood relationship, bloodline, but in urban centers, no blood relations, and also there's competition. It's like a melting point. Look at Lagos, for example. You have the Igbos, you have the Hausa. That is why we don't want anything to happen in Lagos. Everybody, we are all stakeholders in Lagos. We have northerners, they have so many houses in Ikoyi, though they may not be around, but you see they keep coming. We go to Alaba, that is the congregation of Igbo people doing good businesses over there. You know, you go to a place like Shomolu there, people from Ogun State, they are there. You know, people from Osun. So And that is why urbanization is very good. It's a melting point, and one can easily be lost. Your identity, you can lose your identity in urban setting. I believe that's why you see some people from other areas, you say they have these village meetings. That's the only way you still try to keep that bloodline.
Nigeria, over the decades, have epitomized the harsh reality of the disastrous effect of human negligence and its effect on the socio-economic and cultural disposition of people. Endowed with enviable material and human resources, the country has become synonymous with a decidedly criminal infrastructure deficiency and seeming unwillingness to tackle the persistent challenges therewith. Challenges such as insecurity, lack of easy access to funds, and interest rates have been identified as critical factors militating against urbanization in Nigeria. This is considering the fact that one major aspect of urbanization, housing, has become an albatross with several options and alternatives to ensure affordable housing falling far short of the mark.
Yes, even the word affordable house, in the real sense of it, building house for a particular level of people at what you think they can pay. Not, you won't mind the cost of the house. For example, there's a basic rule that nobody should spend more than 20% of his annual or monthly income on housing. So if you want houses to be affordable, you build houses for a level of people who are earning 50,000 every month, in such a way that when you sell the house to them, what they are paying back every month is not more than 20% of their salary. That is affordable. Anything that is above that, it is not affordable by that class. So the word affordable housing is related to income level. What is affordable for somebody on level 10 is not the same thing as somebody on level 3. It's not the same thing on somebody on level 15. So affordable housing is built in a place where the society, civilized society, the government will build the house, and we say, okay, this house is especially for this class of people. How much can these people pay? They can afford. This is how much they can afford. That is what they will pay, notwithstanding how much it costs government. So usually it's subsidized by government.
So affordability. So let me I'm clearing that one. Affordability in housing is not about local. That now number 2 is when you're talking about housing. Housing does not mean everybody should own property. Housing means housing, putting people off the bridge, like living under the bridge, and putting them in a shelter. That's what housing. So you see, we should understand that, and when we understand that, we know that it doesn't mean that everyone must be a landlord. Government can build houses, and people come in as like we have council flats in England. That's housing. It's also housing too. Bring them in, they are tenants. You can come up and say, okay, rent to buy, lease to buy. Say, okay, but in London now, after you paid for some time, you have the right to apply to the council that you want to buy the property. That's also part of housing. Housing also can also mean ownership. So so when you're talking about affordability now, we are talking of how we can tailor the development to ensure that people are able to afford this property in terms of renting it, leasing it, also in terms of buying it. One of the things I would say, number 1, government must intervene in housing development, public housing development. And let us commend Lagos State government, Governor Babashola, SAN, Raji Fashola, SAN has with these Lagos homes. That is one of the things. It's a direct intervention. You cannot leave everything to the invisible hand of Adam Smith to not work, because the baseline information, the baseline situation does not really encourage private developers to provide houses in the magnitude that is needed. So, one of the things, first thing I would say is an emergency must be declared in the housing sector. Emergency. So we must declare emergency. Anywhere you declare emergency, which means everything does not operate by market rules, which means government can come in. Government will come in and intervene in housing something. Also, government can even bring in their funds. Say, okay, you developer, go and do this one. So government intervention in housing is important. We also should encourage housing movement and housing associations. Housing associations get people together so that what we used to do in the farming era in the rural area, you see, there's something they call I think whether Agbaru or something. You see, people will go to their own farm, will clear the farm, will go to another farm, will clear the farm. So the same way in housing, when you bring people together, educate them on the skills necessary in the development. Well, after once you've done that, provide service land to them, and they will now go and be developing the houses. Develop that of Mr. A first, then go to that of Mr. B. That one will also help. Affordability comes in, which means some of the costs have been it's a sweat, has been converted to sweat equity. So that one is important. Another thing, in terms of affordability, I was in Ghana, and one of the things they are doing is there will be a land. The plan will be for 3-bedroom bungalow. What they do is they give you a parlor and they just give you one room. They leave the rest. You develop that as you come in. So it's made affordable. Instead of putting everything in there, all this shell system too. You do the house. It's okay, because finishing is actually the most expensive part of construction. You do the thing and say, okay, you can do maybe they do one room for them. You can finish your own something. Some people are doing that, you know, in Lagos now. That one will help. Another thing that will help is like I said, having a single-digit mortgage system. It will help. Single-digit, and like I will say, Okunjo-Iweala is trying that single-digit mortgage system. It will help. And it's not a question of channeling this thing money through banks, and at the end of the banks will not lend the mortgage thing. They will still be using it for treasury operations for the conventional bank. Single-digit mortgage system, variant mortgage system. If there's no mortgage system, forget about affordability. Because people don't have enough money to deposit. But with the mortgage system, you know, over time, you know, you'll be paying. You pay over time. Some people will not even finish their mortgage before they die. So it's important. And I also believe we have pool of fund. Pencom is a pension fund. Because at the moment, the pension fund, they cannot invest directly in housing development. But there must be an amendment to the pension law, you know, to ensure that we allow some of this money to be invested, you know, in housing development. Another thing I also think is the issue of REITs, real estate investment trust. The law should be reviewed, reformed, so that we make use of the REITs more than any other thing. You see, REITs, the only one that has been successfully done now is just Union Home did their own REITs. Shelter, that Sky also did shelter something, and I think UPDC. Elsewhere in other jurisdictions, everything they want to do is REITs, because it's easy. It's like getting money from the market, from the capital market. You see, security, getting money from capital for housing development. In Japan, they want to do airport, REITs. Hotel development, REITs. They so make it so easy to issue REITs, so that they'll be able to get money. Because we have money. We have money even in the capital market we can use in the area of housing.
I think that's what we have been talking about. Affordable house. You must look at the means of making land more available to people and at cheap prices. Because when you want to build a house, you start from the land. Then the financing. And here we talk of the National Housing Fund, whereby you pool your resources and you begin to take loans or, you know, your own contribution at a later date. That's a way, but again, bureaucracy will not allow that to grow, because as at now, I think about 5 trillion naira has been constituted. But how many people have benefited from that pool of money? Of course, a cog in the wheel is the requirement of CFO. This is to procure CFO. So these are problems. Then mortgage. In developed countries, it is taken for granted. You borrow and you take about 20 years to repay. That is what suits housing, because it's long-term project. But here it's cash and carry. I want to build a house. It's costing about 20 million. unless you have about 10 million, you cannot start. No, it's not done like that. So we need provision for mortgage. So in terms, we are talking about affordability now. You have to bring down the cost, and you have to enhance people's access to property, to housing development. That's what they are talking about. And in terms of the housing structure itself, we need to look inwards. We should be able to get cheaper materials, comfortable materials. I don't know where you come. Maybe you come from London or Paris. I come from a village. The house that my grandfather built in 1895 is still standing with mud. Of course, a number of improvements have been done. Because originally it was with thatched roof. It is now corrugated iron sheet. It's still standing. So if you look at hardened mud, if we can process them very well, it will be cheaper than this cement, concrete cement. So, and I don't know if you grew up in the village too, you know that this thatch roof, in fact, even when the sun is in its height, you find that the comfort under a thatch roof is better than all this type of roof that we have today. So all we need to do is to modernize them. We have professors, we have doctors in the university who are wasting away, and of course there are enough of their research findings that have not left the shelf. So these are problems. So in terms of affordability, we need to look inward, see how we can better locally made materials that will be more cheaper than what we have now. It's very, very important. So these are the things you have to put together. It's a multifaceted problem, and you have to be tackled by various approaches.
Well, we have been involved as consultants in some development. One of them is Ikeja City Mall. Ikeja City Mall, we came in at the beginning, we did the evaluation, and also eventually we are part of the leasing team. In my company and a company called Bro manages the place now. We came together to lease that place. That one is there, and also we are involved in the sale of Surat shopping complex. About 3 companies, my company and 2 other companies, were involved in that one, so that the thing goes into the hand of the tenants. We are also involved. We are currently managing the City Mall Unicon. We took over from, and in fact, when you go there now, we are doing some remodeling, refurbishment, because it actually requires some money. We are changing all the escalators now. The old ones have been removed. New escalators have come in. We are creating offices upstairs so as to reposition that mall. In Ikeja GRA, we have this Akinola Coal. We are managing on behalf of Wema Board Estate. In Osun State, we are also involved in the, even from conceptualization. There is a market developed by Ogbeni Aregbesola through a PP arrangement, called Ayegbaju Market. We did the sale, the marketing of that one. We are also involved in the host of other ones that have really not come to, like they are still in the pipeline. For example, we are initially involved in the development of Igbo Market. We started the thing, as a consultant. We've been participating as more or less as consultant, but we also have it in mind that the housing development is where to go. We are putting things together now to go into housing development and property management. Thank you very much.
You see, honestly, one should be tired of giving advice now. You see, as a former president of Nigerian Institution of Estates of Wealth and Valuers, I had sat at many seminars, platforms, panels, to come up with ideas, brilliant ideas generated from people. At the end of the day, You will form a communique, you will submit either to the governor, to the president, but at the end of the day, it is implementation. It is implementation. But we must not be tired. As long as we don't have any other country than this country, we must seek to improve the situation. So my advice will not differ from what we have been talking about. In fact, if for the next 20 years we don't generate any new ideas, what that has been generated, that in the shelves, let the government does all these suggestions and try to implement. Political will, in fact, is the greatest thing. Political will and enlightened governance. You see, what we have is skilled governance that we have now. You are governance to make money, to see how you can acquire all the property in the world. You know, you see the developed countries that we run to, if they have that type of terrible attitude, their country will not be as good. The government there is for their people, and they are accountable, very, very much accountable. And this is what is lacking. We try to appreciate what the current actors are doing, and honestly, the problems are so enormous that honestly, you may not know where to start, but that we are still existing, and we are still calling ourselves giant of Africa. I think there is hope. There's hope. So there's need for political will. Any government that is coming or that is there, be prepared to serve the people.
Just before we call it a day on Inside Business Africa for today, I just need to share this piece of information with you. It is about the Summit, Development Professionals for Nigeria's Transformation, an event that will be holding in Abuja on the 13th and 14th of October. It's been put together by Century 21 Systems Limited in collaboration with Association of Professional Bodies of Nigeria. And all other professional associations will be participating and endorsing this important event. The Nigerian Society of Engineers, the Nigerian Society Institute of Architects, the Nigerian Institution of Surveyors, and many of these important professional bodies have endorsed this event, and they're all going to be there. And most importantly, the presidency will be represented very importantly at this event, and also the ministers that are related to the built environment, especially Minister of Housing, Minister of Works, Minister of Water Resources, and Minister of Mines and Steel. These particular ministers will also be at that event to talk about the nation's transformation that is currently going on in the infrastructure sector. You need to be part of it and understand how you can win with federal government projects and take your own piece of the pie of this important transformation that is going on. You need to be part of it. The event is titled This Summit, Development Professionals for Nigeria's Transformation, and is holding at Abuja this 13th to 14th of October at the Sheraton Hotels and Towers. The information is also scrolling on our screen. Write down the phone numbers, write down the email address, and also contact the organizers and be part of that event. I'm afraid that's about all we have time for on Inside Business Africa for today, but let me also inform you that next week we're going to be having a very important personality on Inside Business, Mr. Victor Osibogu, who is the chairman of Vigio Limited, one of the operators in the oil and gas industry, also in the energy sector. He will be talking with Inside Business on his life and time, and also he was recently made a fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Pharmacy, and that is important achievement indeed. We'll talk about it next week on Inside Business. It's been Kenneth Odushola Stevenson presenting Inside Business. Thank you for watching. See you next week.